Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
All right, sorry for this delay. We didn't get the motion from last week. I went down, whatever. Pull the meeting to order, at, let's say, 6:03 on September 19th, 2022, at the town hall in Grafton. A motion to adopt the agenda as presented. Do we have a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Mr. Chair, I do have a discussion.
Yep.
Until this very moment, we had not received minutes from the September 15th special meeting. And at that special meeting, we interviewed another candidate. We had further discussion about the job description. And I also recused myself from the part of the meeting, part of the deliberations by the select board that had to do with the candidate for the position, who's also an employee of the inn, and I'm a member of the foundation board. For that reason, that those minutes and their complete state are very important for our discussion tonight in terms of item number 6 and the executive session item number 11. Therefore, I think we should remove those topics from our agenda tonight and wait until we get the proper minutes before the September meeting. And then call a special meeting and discuss the hiring process for the town administrator.
I'm not sure if that's the proper place to make this motion.
The items are on the agenda.
Yes, but,
I think they should be removed from the agenda.
well, if you want to remove it, I think that would be when you do it at number 6, and then we can vote on it, decide whether the board wants to read it or not. This is just an addendum item.
It's to adopt the agenda as presented.
Correct, but if you don't want to go through, if you personally don't want to go through the 6 or 11, then we need to have a motion, but I don't think we'll make a motion now. I think it's out of order.
But wouldn't we just simply either add that to the motion as we have in the past? We want to add or take away an agenda. We would do that if this is what you're going to be doing.
I'm not planning, so I'm not quite sure what's.
I think that would come in the next topic, which is the minutes discussion. But it seemed important to me that we had 3 members of the select board present at that meeting, board meeting. We don't really have minutes that are complete. I don't think it's our responsibility to write the complete minutes of that meeting in this meeting. And I just don't think we have a basis for discussion of item number 6 or item number 11. And that's why I think we should, as part of this motion, to accept the agenda as presented. I'm bringing up the fact that I don't think we should talk about item 6 or item 11 tonight because we don't have the important motion in front of us. And that came out in that meeting.
Is there the motion here?
But look at these minutes, Joe. We know that these minutes don't say when we went into executive session, when we came out of executive session, it says nothing about my recusal. It says nothing about the fact that we discussed the job description. In fairness to Bill, it looks like he kind of just did these minutes.
Yes, Bill.
I didn't do the minutes because I don't work on Fridays. Today was a busy day with phone calls and everything else. I have presented you with the only piece of those minutes that are public information, the only piece, and that's the motion. Other than that, we moved into executive session, and we came out of executive session. Other than that, there's no other business that happened. There was no discussion that happened outside of the executive session. All this executive session is speaking that she wants to cover. I don't take minutes. There aren't any minutes because it's an executive session. This is the only motion that was made other than to adjourn, which happened right after this motion. And that's it. That's it. You have in front of you everything that was done at that meeting in public session, except the motion to adjourn.
I recused myself in a public meeting. I did not recuse myself. And besides that, I think that we're just not able to look at these minutes. They're usually, I agree with Bill. He doesn't work on Friday. He has 48 hours to write the minutes. The minutes didn't.
No, 10 days to write the minutes. Let's get it straight. The law that was passed last year that's cited at the top of every one of these agendas gives me 10 days to write the minutes.
I think, Bill, that as a member of the hiring committee, as the town administrator, knowing that tonight's agenda had two important topics on it that related to the minutes of the September 15th meeting.
You have the only important thing that happened at that session.
Are you
There was
You want to
one.
make a motion?
I move that we adopt the agenda minus item number 6 and item number 11.
Do we have a second to that? There's no second, then the motion
Okay,
goes away.
that's
Okay?
fine.
All right. So all in favor of to adopt the agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed?
No,
So we have 4. Agenda, Wendy?
yes, Joe, I can hear that's a track record. I can hear him getting notes correctly for the minutes. And it's troublesome that you are asking her if she got that. Well, take a look at the minutes.
No, I just want to make sure that she had it, that's all. We have a few minutes to go over today. Read the first one is September 1st. Am I correct? Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of September 1st as presented? If there are none, somebody make a motion to accept the minutes of September 1st as presented.
Move to accept September 1 minutes.
No discussion, everybody in favor? Everybody opposed? Okay. The next is September 6th. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes of September 6th as presented? There are none. Do you have a second? Somebody make a motion to accept. We have a second? All right. Okay. Since there's no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. So the minutes of September 6th, approved. And the last and final one is the meeting of, second meeting of, on September 9th. Are there any additions or corrections to those minutes? If there are none, somebody make a motion to accept, please. Second. Second. All right. If there's no discussion, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All in the minutes.
Joe, I
Yes.
do think we should request of the town administrator to review the minutes of the September 15th meeting, and put them in the same format as the other minutes.
Okay, so moved. So I will ask him to do that.
Thank you, Pearson. Yeah.
That's the minutes of,
September 15th.
all right, next thing is, the highway report. Mike, do you have anything for us?
I got our new hire here, Toby Record. Y'all have met before. The group, so,
Welcome. Let's take the floor.
I went over to the, parking lot, the Wyndham Foundation, met with them. And I think they can get the water to go to the opposite side of the parking lot instead of down the pathway. But they'd have to add a couple loads of material near the pathway and do a little sloping to the parking lot. It's probably gonna take a while. It's only off like an inch and a half on the side of the road. They haven't really clarified how much they would be involved. They asked if we would use the grader to do that, if that comes to fruition. The pathway, I think the best scenario there would be to fill it back in, gravel it in, and try to grass the road. That would be my recommendation. Have it as a grass pathway, not a gravel pathway. You have a lot of water coming off the roof of the school,
Right.
which compounds that whole situation.
Well, eventually that's going to be the school issue, I think. Once, but right now it's ours.
Right, but you have twice as much water between the parking lot and the school roof. There's a lot of water that puddles up behind the school.
Does anybody have any objection of the town using the grader to fix this problem? I mean,
It's entirely up to you guys. Where the material comes from, I don't know how you want to handle that.
well, in your opinion, is it whose issue? Is it ours or is it the foundation's issue?
Well, it's really their parking lot. I mean, it was their creation. I don't know what the relationship between the parking lot, because I know the school uses the parking lot as well. I don't really know the full relationship between the town and the Wyndham Foundation on the use of the parking lot. I know Iowa plows the parking lot, at least the back.
Well, I don't think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe Suzanne would know, but I don't think we have any use of that parking lot. I don't think it's not our thing. I mean, that could be wrong.
Grader, I think we're doing our part.
Yeah,
Yeah, I agree. I think that what's in the town's interest right now is to fill in that big hole before somebody gets hurt. I mean, we made quite a fuss over the cistern up in the village park where no one had walked, I think, since the mid-1800s. And we've got somebody walking down that trail all day, every day. And it is a dangerous spot. I think it behooves us, and I thank Mike for taking the initiative to get that done with the foundation so we can move ahead.
Bill, did you have it?
I talked to Les Record, and he said if we could build up that property to slope it back toward the foundation parking lot, it would keep the water from running down that hill, and it would back up and then drain properly in the parking lot. As far as using town equipment on somebody else's property, you would need, it seems to me, you would need to get permission from Bob Donald to do that. But I think it'd be well worth our while to use our material to correct that situation. Otherwise, we're going to be constantly filling that ravine because the water comes down there. There's another issue that Mike alluded to or spoke about, and that is the way the school property drains, they need to fix that. It also adds water coming down the hill that unnecessarily. It ponds behind the school. They need to fix their yard drainage. But that would be at a time when they finally get ownership of the property, because they thought that was their property for a long time, but it doesn't belong.
Does anybody have the objection of the town supplying the material to fix it? I mean,
Is it, we talking peanuts or we talking?
I don't know.
Well, there's probably 2 loads of material, and in our dollars, that's like $520, I think, in material to the town.
We're talking about just painting the gravel.
Just gravel, yeah. Which I just pull out of our own pile up there, if I was to do it, that's where I.
Saves headaches, I don't have a real problem with it.
Here's the photo of it.
You know, I hate to say this, but I left my glasses on the truck. But I'll grab them up. I really can't see anything.
Do you think?
Take your word for it.
But I mean, that's, I mean, if it's okay with the board, then we can authorize Mike to go ahead and do that.
So basically, we're worried about the liability.
I did see.
Is that what you guys are saying?
Well, the path is one thing, but the parking lot's another. It's not our parking lot, the path is ours. That's where I want to make sure you understand. The other one is not our responsibility, the path is our responsibility.
I kind of like it better when we were gonna do the grader and they were gonna do the other half. I think I like that better. If that's what, if I'm following the story here.
You don't fix the grading, you're gonna just keep putting gravel down. Is that correct, Mike?
Well, the whole parking lot needs to be pitched to help the issue. So the foundation water goes the opposite direction instead of down that pathway, because right now, everything in that parking lot goes down that pathway.
What was Bob's understanding when you spoke to him?
I didn't get to speak to Bob, I spoke to Russell and Nat.
Okay,
That's who I was told to speak. If I need to talk to Bob further, then that's all I got.
Well, I mean, I understand the path, but I don't understand the foundation of the parking lot. I don't think that's, should be our responsibility, but with gravel, I mean, grading is one thing. I mean, that's their parking, lot, not ours.
Right.
You know?
but the gravel has
If
to
you
go in the
don't-
path.
If you don't raise that edge, make the water go the other way.
Well, I understand that, but maybe the foundation should putty up on the amount of material, and we'll do the grading.
That's up to you folks, however
I
you
mean,
want.
that's what I would do. But,
If the water flows that way, the only way you can change as the budding landowner is to get the permission from the owner where the water's coming from to change the flow of the water. And
No, I
if you can't get that permission, then you have to accept all the water that comes
No,
down.
I understand that.
Okay, so if we're gonna fix it, I would suggest that the fix would be to talk to the foundation. If they're okay, if we fix it and put the water back on their land, then we go ahead with that. But if you don't fix it, that hole that Suzanne showed in the path is gonna be there every time it rains. Tonight it'll be another. It'll be a big,
Could we just step back for a second? Mike, correct me if I'm wrong. I think when you had the conversation with Russell and Matt, they said the foundation would take responsibility to fix the driveway.
No,
Okay, what did they agree to do?
they agreed what the problem is. And they asked if the town would supply the grader. Where the materials came from was never came to a conclusion as to who was going to pay the materials.
Okay.
But we all come to a conclusion as to what the problem is.
So all along, we were planning to provide the gravel to fix the hole in the path,
We will fix the pathway, which belongs to the town,
but,
but you gotta do something which
so the question
everybody
is,
wanted me to figure out what, you know, what the foundation was gonna do with their wall. Well,
I agree with Joe. I think that it's good for us to loan them the grader if they don't have a grader, but the foundation should provide the gravel to fix the
Yeah, sure.
problem in the driveway.
Well, we provide the gravel, and they pay us.
however you guys wanna go about it, that's fine. I mean, we're,
Well, maybe, listen, you're not gonna solve this problem tonight, I don't think, because we don't know, but, just so that everybody understands, I did speak to Bob Donald today, and, Carl Lauren has resigned. So the person who is now taking Carl's place is Matt Hazeltine. So whether Matt has the authority or not, I can't tell you, but that is the lead person that you go to. And my suggestion would be is to go see that and explain to him the situation and see if they'd be willing to, they're willing to do the work, if they can provide the gravel, and then it gets over with.
he and I spoke this morning, and he wasn't quite sure where the gravel was coming from at that point. And he asked if we would use a grader
Right.
to shape it.
Well, if they want to provide the gravel, that's fine.
Right.
We would do it, but they pay for our gravel.
Right.
And that's how I would do it.
Okay.
It's all good.
And
Okay.
I'll mention it to them.
You know, and then you could always report back to Bill what the situation is, and he can let us know, so we know what's happening. Okay?
I just want to make the point, please, that Carl retired from the foundation.
I said retired.
I think he said he's on.
No, I said retired. He retired. He didn't
Retired.
Anything else, Mike?
The new truck is being built. It's up in Williston up at Viking. So Wednesday, I'll go up and see, make sure that it's getting put together properly. It's supposed to be designed.
When do you expect to have that thing, you know?
I'll probably know better after Wednesday. So, they had everything but the bottom, so.
Maybe you'll have
That's not,
Will we have it before snowfall?
I hope so. That's my plan.
Sounds like your own girlfriend.
Which
one did that replace by?
That's replacing my 10-wheel.
Anything else?
That's pretty much it.
Is there anything else?
On the agenda, it says FEMA staff.
Yeah, I'm talking about anything from Mike.
Okay.
On the turnaround up on, it's leaving Grafton going up towards Chester, that turnaround, there's a tree. Lynn, have you guys removed that at all?
I haven't gotten out there yet.
It's
no.
pretty big.
It's out in the fall off almost to the
Right,
town line.
yeah.
Okay.
There is one thing that I noticed today, because the leaves are coming off the trees, but there's a dead tree in the little park area here that's, you know, that where the road is, where the, Francis lives,
Oh, yeah.
that's dead. Is that something we can cut, or is that something we have to hire out?
I have to look at that,
Take a look at it.
see where it's gonna go.
I mean, it just looks ugly to have this dead tree in the middle of town.
Okay. But if we can get it down, you want it going?
I would, I mean, listen, I think it should.
Okay.
That's all. I have to say.
Did Colby start today?
Yes.
FEMA, do you have any, Bill, you have anything with FEMA, or nothing new?
You're not gonna do the other,
What's FEMA?
number one.
Oh, yeah, sorry, hazards. Yeah, okay, go ahead.
After considering it further and looking at the application form and the justification and the history, I think we should ask for assistance on culvert number 10, which is at the driveway that goes to where Nate lives, that belongs to the records. That on Fisher Hill, that project is the most important. And with regard to, and the second one, I would do, instead of putting in 4, I would do the culvert at the corner. So it's the culvert number 24. It is the culvert above Bolton's camp, where goes around that blind corner, and there's guardrails there.
Yep.
Because that is showing signs of scour from the culvert being rusted or something. There's something going on there. So I'd ask that be the second one. I don't know what our chances of getting either one, but if you would agree that those two are the ones that you want to file an application on, those are the two that I would do. I have started on the application for culvert number 10. We have a lot of good things in our local hazard mitigation plan, including the fact that it is the number 2 item on the list of mitigation projects in priority. Number 1 was the Chester Road culvert that we relined about 2 years ago, maybe 3. And this was number 2. And one of the points you get is for does a local plan call for some work on that culvert. As for culvert number 24, we do not have it in the plan, but it is really needed. So I can put some language in there about the necessity for it, but I don't have anything else backed it up. As far as any other structures that we have, including culvert number 5 on Fisher Hill, which is the big, what I call the bridge, that gets, in a storm like Irene, that gets the road on both sides get cut off. And that would be nice to fix, and it's very expensive. It's probably about $500,000. But again, we don't have that on a high priority. Whereas 10 causes a lot of problems on Fisher Hill from erosion and mud coming over the road. And I think that would be the main project to do. And then the second would be hope that we can get more money to do the culvert at number 24 Huntington Hill.
Guys, any comment on that? No. Right?
No, I think it's spot on.
Yeah.
Where's 24?
It's above Don Bolton's cabin. It's in the sharp corner where it's in that line corner up there where you have the rails on each side, the guardrails on each side.
What road?
I think we were to
If there's no thoughts, I would say let's give it a whirl and go for it.
Okay. And then with regard to FEMA status, we're done with the project on Ledge Road.
So it's all done?
It's all done. They asked, we've signed off all the paperwork on it. The last two items were whether or not there were any bones discovered in the digging. If there were not. And whether or not we used fill that came from a recognized quarry, a permitted quarry, and that's what we did, as well as using because around the culvert itself, you can't just put the dirt back that was there. You have to put in fines, sand fines, and then rocks behind that. So it was all done according to the standards, and it was all done with dirt that is permitted. Those are the two issues. We have, Jamie has presented his bill for $174,000, and that is being paid in this AP cycle. It's one of the items for you to sign off on. And that would be, once we get that check from the bank showing that it has been cashed, then we can give that information to FEMA to be reimbursed. How long it'll take for reimbursement, we do not know. And we still haven't gotten the 5% from the state on what we did receive, the $260,000 we did receive. We haven't received the 5% of the recovery items that should come from the state of Vermont.
Isn't Scott Vincent going to look at that Wednesday?
Pardon me?
Scott Vincent, I think, is going to look at that culvert Wednesday.
Oh, good. I was there on Thursday, and along with Mike, we went and looked at it. He had one lower load of gravel, and that was it. And it should be, it looks really good. Yeah,
Well done.
yeah. It's about twice as wide as what the road used to be, but that was by design.
Are you referring to the ledge road culvert?
Yes.
Jim?
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
Can we back up to the one before just for a second?
Sure.
Bill, you mentioned there's two culverts.
I could try to get 30.
No, but this says that there are 4 projects, and we would prioritize those.
Well, the four were the big bridge at the schoolhouse on Fisher Hill.
Yeah,
And the other one was that culvert on Hinkley Brook above 24, which is 30, which is where Matt is now coming in and out. It's basically just below Frenette's driveway. And if you want, I can try all 3 of them, but I don't know that we gain any credibility by putting a lot in. But who knows? It might. Well, I can do all 4 of them if you want.
well, right now we're doing 10, 24. But the other,
10 and 24. 30
and the other 2 are,
are 30 and 5. I just don't think we don't have good background, we don't have good backup to,
Well, I understand that. I just wanted, we were supposed to prioritize those and we didn't really do that. So I was.
Yeah.
Wondering if we could.
Well, something, you want to,
We did two of them. We,
Right.
you said 10 to 24 and then 30 and the other one, I don't know what order they were gonna be in.
only if you want to do them. I was only gonna do 10 and 24. I can do all four if you wish. And there isn't any priority, they'll all just go in.
No, but it just mentions 4 here under that, so that's all I read about it up.
well, do you want to add more?
Well, we're asking for 4 here, prioritize, and we only prioritize 2. So we should do the other 2, 3 and 4.
I just don't know that it would be worth our while because there aren't any points. Everything is, there's points for,
Well, if that's the case, then just change this from 4 to 2. And that's all.
yeah.
Okay. All right, we're okay with that, we're all set, we're gonna go with planning also.
Here, I have a question about the status of FEMA. So in the September 6th meeting, we said that all the expenses submitted have been reimbursed aside from Ledge Road, which is in progress. And tonight we learned that Ledge Road is now done except for the reimbursement, which we are waiting for once we get the evidence that the bill has been paid, which will come to us this AP cycle, is what I heard Bill say. And we have not received 5% that were due from the state.
Right.
Other than that, other than those things, the reimbursement, the 5%, what is left to be done? What remains to be done for FEMA?
Nothing.
Nothing.
No,
Why?
you never know what they're gonna come back in for 7 years, as a matter of fact.
But right now,
Oh, yeah,
But you never, but right now,
Yeah.
for instance, I'm answering questions on the buyouts that were done in 2015 right now. We haven't satisfied all the things from 2015. FEMA goes into review on all these projects, even though they pay for them, and there might be more information and questions asked. But as far as we are concerned, they have all the information that they need right now for all the projects.
Yeah, but to answer Suzanne's question, all the recent FEMA work has been paid with the exception of the Ledge Road and 5% from the state. Other than that, we're, whether they go back 10 years from now or something, but right now, we're up to date.
Yes.
Yes.
We have filed everything that we needed to file with them, except for the proof of payment.
Right, we got all the monies and stuff, and there's no reason why we wouldn't get the money from the Ledge Road as soon as and there's no reason why we wouldn't get the money from the state either, it's just a matter of time.
That's correct.
Yeah, anything else on the highways? If not, Kim's not here, so Kim's not on, is she?
No, Kim said she wasn't gonna be.
All right, so there's no clerk anything. The town administrator search status, that goes into executive session, I do believe. So that brings us to committee reports. The cemetery committee. It's about the same. Bill and I have not amended the cemetery policy. It's one thing I will put it, we'll get that done. We're waiting for a bid back from Vivo, who is going to lay out and plot the graves for Burgess. And when we get that money will come from the fund that will come out of the state budget, the town budget. It comes out of the fund that the public, whatever, I can't remember what the fund is, but it's a public fund, yeah. So that's where we stand with that. And as far as the cemetery, the Joneses they haven't responded to me or John. And, the other plot, we just have to wait to get Cathedral out there to lay it out where the, what's the name, that valley. It's that valley. It's gonna go into property, so that's where that's at. And,
Have you actually met with Mr. Dow?
huh?
Have you met with Mr. Dow?
Yes, oh yeah. And, I know John had, I've been looking at the cemeteries and they look in pretty good shape, so I think that's good. Highway committee, so,
The Grafton traffic ordinance, is everybody a copy of that? And we made some changes to that, and let's go over them all if you'd like. I'll go through them. The first one is on all the paved roads where there's gonna be a stop sign, there'll be a white line. That is not mandatory, but I think that's a good idea. And in doing so, it may mean that that stop sign might have to be moved up closer to the intersection. Look like this one here, so you can see it. That was the first one. The next one is Cambridgeport, Athens, and Grafton. At that intersection, the sheriff recommended 3 stop signs instead of yield and stop. So I changed that to 3 stop signs unless it's it has a reason why we should not do it. They figured it was easier to enforce that. And on the Eastern Road, we added a stop sign coming out of Eastern Road. On the Way Orchard Road, we we added a yield sign. Rutland Forest, we added a yield sign. Pleasant Street, where, it meets with Kidder Hill, we added a yield sign. And School Street, where it meets Pleasant Street, we added a yield sign. That makes sense, Don?
There's a stop sign there now, right?
Nothing there, except do not have,
No, I'm talking about when you come down School Street to Pleasant Street.
there's nothing there.
nothing.
Well, I thought we put a stop sign up a couple of years ago.
I think there used to be one there.
Yeah, I probably got it in my garage.
It just says, but the yield sign makes sense?
Sure. That's why those mamas come racing out of there when school comes out. They never slow down, they never look.
No, they don't.
And I, yeah, that's it. And Route 121 meets a maximum speed of 25 miles an hour from the intersection with Town Highway 4 Athens. Then 121 West, Oakville Road, that would be right here at the intersection where it comes into the village. It's gonna be a sign of 25 miles an hour. There's nothing,
Isn't there one here now?
no, there's nothing there. Yeah.
No.
It's 25 miles an hour all the way up to the street, but then it's nothing that goes that 121 to that driveway number 94, which is not required. And let's see, Route 121 West, Coltonville, a maximum speed of 35 from 94 Coltonville Road, the end of the pavement. And Route 121 West, Coltonville Road, a maximum of 35 from where the pavement resumes, which is approximately half a mile from the intersection with Putnam Forest Road to the pond at the eastern end of the meadow on the property of number 2992 Coltonville Road, a distance of 0.20 miles. And Route 121 West Coltonville Road, a maximum of 30 miles an hour from the pond at the eastern end of the meadow on the property of 2992 Coltonville Road to the old schoolhouse property at 3714 Coltonville Road. And the Route 121 West Hopeville Road at maximum 35 miles an hour from the old schoolhouse property at 3714 the Hopeville Road to the end of the pavement.
What is Wyndham, do you know?
That's all.
Where's Wyndham Street, do they have one?
They know one, I think it is 35, yeah,
So it'd be the same, right?
same thing. And Route 121 West Hopeville Road, maximum speed of 35 miles an hour from the end of pavement at the top of the rise of the Grafton Wyndham town line. And, I missed one, there needs to be a sign opposite the generator at the school so that you don't go up that way on the Townsend Road, which would be at the blacksmith shop, the people coming out of the blacksmith shop road. There's nothing there that says they can't go like straight up on the Townsend Road.
Like one way there would be.
Yeah, it should be doing that
Yeah,
in that area.
right. Yeah, good point, good point, you meant. But I saw somebody.
That's what.
That should be on the same side as the generator, not across the street on that person's line.
We've prepared this draft so that we can set tonight a date for a meeting. But if there's any other changes from the public, you know, I'd like to hear it right now and then we can make some more changes. The least, I don't know if you've got it or not, but I have the cost of 4 changes we made in this will come to about $1,300.
Does that include the painting, John?
What's that?
The painting of the lines?
No, painting the line, that's another thing. I don't know if the town can do this. But you'll have to have quick drying paint and you also have traffic control and all that in order to do it. I think you're talking about 4 lines to do it. They're 10 inches. So if you don't, you're gonna have to hire that one. I did this one out here and one on Chester Road years ago. But that's,
The fire department owns a little.
yeah, each change you make, it's gonna cost about $150.
Don, you have a question?
How about the yield sign at the foot of Middletown Road?
We talked about
I mean, it should be a yield sign, I mean, but lots of times people don't even look.
it, right? Really, when you come down Middletown Road, the person on the right has the right of way.
Yes.
So if it had a yield, it would.
Should be a yield there.
Well,
Yeah. I mean, I always kind of slow down and look because you can't see anybody coming down Firefly or from, here.
The people on Hinkley Brook would appreciate that very much.
Walk on those roads, we'd appreciate it.
Yeah, we talked about this last time, the stop sign at the other end of Middletown Road where it joins 121, where the visibility is 0. And at the schoolhouse, and I've been thinking about it, you know, driving down that hill, it really would seem to make most sense to have the stop sign on the other side of the road so that you can see it from further up as you're coming down because the road curves. So you don't see the stop sign until you're fairly close to the bottom. But if the stop sign was on the opposite side, like it's often placed, then it would be visible as you are.
on the left-hand side, then, so the right.
Across the road, on the other side of
You mean straight
121.
ahead.
Straight ahead.
But you gotta be careful, there's a bridge there.
No, this is before you turn on the
Before
bridge.
the bridge.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
west- the westerly side of the road.
But there's a guardrail there.
No, this is before you get to the, when you come down Middletown Road,
Right.
and, you know, schoolhouse is here on your
Yeah.
right, and
Straight across,
straight across before you turn on the bridge.
right, there's no guardrail there, it ends at the end of the bridge, is that what you?
No, the guardrail starts a little further up. So that way, the stop sign would be the most visible coming down that hill.
On the right or left?
Straight.
It's straight ahead,
Oh, you're right, across one.
across 121, on the other side. So on the north side, or maybe is at that point the east side?
The other important thing is to slow down the vegetation there. I came down yesterday and I had to stop, but I can't see around the corner without pulling out to see if anybody's coming across that bridge.
Well, that's a good point, Hardy, and I think our town crew does a good job, but they can't keep up because it grows so fast.
I know.
You can't go there once a week with
That's
them.
a dangerous problem.
Yeah.
That's-
So we need to do.
So if there's no other changes anybody like to make, please, I'd like to see that we come up with a date for a public hearing and present it to them and see what. I would suggest sometime in November, December, right now, because
Yeah, and I would suggest that we do it prior to the select board meeting. In other words, if February 6th, we'll have a public hearing at 5:30 or something of that nature, and then select board will continue right after it. And, we should probably publish these too, Wendy, I don't know if you can publish these in the Grafton News before the public hearing.
Yeah, I was gonna look at the dates for, the meetings in November. So if you did it, the first and third, the 7th and the 21st, your meeting, so would you have it? The first one or the 21st?
Is the 7th quite around the election time?
It's after, well,
Election is on
Yeah.
the first.
Well, you wouldn't, if you wouldn't want to do the 7th, right, because that's election, right?
No, I think Wendy said it's on the election on the first.
Tuesday, November 1st.
So it's November 1st. So you could do either the 7th or the 21st. 21st is the Thanksgiving week,
That's the.
Let's do it on the 7th.
so you want to do it on the 7th?
Yeah.
Does that give you enough time to get a public in the
Yeah, I
paper?
can do, yeah.
So is that okay with everybody to have a public hearing on the 7th of November prior to the select board meeting? Yes, Bill?
John and I work to get a final copy and give it to you for that purpose, post it, and also send it around to the residents.
Do we have to do it? One second, Lisa, do we have to do anything, Bill, like, do we have to publish it on the paper other than the Grafton News?
I think we have to publish it.
Well, you can check that.
I think the publication may have to happen after, it seems to me it happens after it's posted and it isn't effective for 30 days, something like that. I will.
Exactly, yeah. Lisa?
Can it be posted on the town website?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, yes. But I think it should go on the Grafton News.
Yeah, in addition, yeah.
Yeah. And it should be posted outside too. I mean, bulletin board, but you want to sit up there.
I thought I'd also send it to the Grafton.
Yeah,
I'll send it to the blast list so everybody has copy.
yeah,
what do you have the date?
11/4.
What you said? 4 or 7?
7th.
I'm sorry. 11/7, right. I don't know why I should 4, 11/7.
3 days off or something.
That's all right.
I mean, now it's not when we come over.
John, you've done a super job on this.
I think so.
John's done a super job.
I did one.
The Parks Committee, I got an email from, Alan, he wants to go on the next select board meeting. So I emailed Alan and I said, you'll be on the agenda for, the next meeting. It will be over 3rd, I think it is.
No, Joe, yes, for October 17th.
17th?
And you agreed to October
So that
17th.
didn't, I'm meeting. Anyway, that's gonna go on there. Anyone talking about the grants and whatever. Anything on the personnel committee? Building, I know we got someone on building, that's some good news.
They're gonna start construction on Wednesday. I wrote them back and because we were in a little bit of panic downstairs. What do you mean you're gonna, what will be the start? because we have the closet to clean out. I called James and James to move the heat pump and to fix the pipe up here, so it's out of the way of the elevator, and then Lawrence and Loeb has to come back and move the state safety light, the light that lights up when the lights go out, and the alarm company has to come and move their alarm system point. He just wrote today and said he's going to start, so I don't know how soon they can get that done, so hopefully they won't start with the closet, but if they start with the closet, we can get all those people in to do their work so they can disconnect their systems and put them temporarily on in a functioning way, but in other locations.
Just, we're talking this Wednesday or next Wednesday?
Just Wednesday. It's dependent on his crew finishing up the job that they're doing in Grafton.
Do you expect to be here today?
He said 2 months, but but that was with the bathroom and everything. I don't know.
You know how construction is,
Yeah,
never know.
never know.
The wastewater committee,
That's
Yeah, you
something
did
that
oh, good.
you guys asked about an extra or a different water system, so I did
Okay.
I did speak with, one of the,
Hot water system, you mean?
yeah.
Yeah.
I spoke with James and James last week. I went over, relating to, a better source of hot water instead of using the hot water from the boil. So I have some options here. You can place a work order in with James and James concerning the options. Tony James can come out and take a look at what he knows on our system. And when you use the hot water, like washing your hands, the boiler will come on and shut off, and it has to maintain temperature. If you do not shut the boiler down, it will do more damage to the system. And you can have a pull start in the boiler. And this will save on the use of oil when washing hands and whatever use you have with the hot water. You can also have placed in the bathroom a quick hot water. I believe Eric Stevens mentioned it in the last board meeting. You can go online and price them. Prices range from $285 upwards to $500 or more. If you're updating the bathroom for ADA compliance, there's a possibility that the recovery money could help out with the cost if you want to put something in the bathroom. Primarily, it will give you the hot water and not come off the burns. So those are the options I have. Maybe Tony has something else, but
But if you install a Insta-Hot for the bathroom, which is probably the best way to go, then you still have to run the boiler all summer long. And that is burning up fuel at 5 something a gallon.
the only time that burns is going to come on is when you're using the hot water. With this system, something in the bathroom separate, it's not going to affect the
So
furnace
the boiler's gonna be cold,
because you're not going to use it.
but I thought you have to keep the boiler hot all summer long.
Talk to James about that. We didn't talk about that. She talked about every time you wash your hands, the furnace is going to come on after you use
Yeah,
it to
correct.
maintain the heat.
Right,
Right now, I don't know unless you're using the heat.
I think it runs. I think if you go down there, the
I
boiler's
don't know.
hot.
I'm not here every day, so I don't know.
I mean, isn't that what happened? I mean, Ken's not here, but I think you can't shut the boiler down for the summer, so it maintains it, whatever temperature it's supposed to maintain.
Yeah,
So if you install a Insta-Hot
yeah.
or an oil-fired hot water heater or whatever you do, you're still gonna have to run the boiler. The question is,
Yeah.
at $5 plus a gallon.
Well, she's talked about a cold start.
And what does that mean?
Just said that Tony James would have to look at it. You can put a cold start, it will not come on when you're using the hot water. It will save the oil, but you call it a cold start.
Well, you know, to me, I mean, we spend $14,000 on air conditioning and heating, and to save energy and also for the environment, and if we are running the boiler and it's something wrong and nobody can use it, there's gotta be a solution.
If you work on it out, how up.
Well, why don't you hear that? Why don't we get them to come out and make a proposal for us?
I think that's a good idea.
Yeah.
You said Tony James would come on, Captain? Yeah, let's do that.
I don't have all the answers, I'm just.
No,
I found,
No, I understand, but you know, let them come out, if they're willing to come out and give us a proposal, why don't we do that? Wastewater committee, remember, the meeting will take place on September 28th at 6 p.m. at the Brick Meeting House. So anybody interested in learning about the wastewater project on at the 30% mark, is welcome to come. I think it was in the Grafton News. It's been everywhere else, so who's ever interested, pass the word around. And this is not a meeting that the board is holding, just so you understand that. This is a meeting that Kai and Bond is holding. So it's a, yes, Joe?
I was questioned on whether or not, I had planned to put it on Microsoft Teams and it's already out there on Microsoft
Right.
Teams. But I was questioned about that. Do we still want it on Microsoft Teams?
I think so. If somebody, yeah, maybe. I would.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, just also want to remind the board and the public that I unfortunately will not be able to make that meeting on the 28th due to a long-term commitment I can. And it's a milestone for this project, and I will really miss being there, and I wish you all the success in this meeting.
Well, I know it's, you guys, your committee, the yeoman's work, and we're at this point now where we're doing the study, so you're right, but I think you'll be able, if you put it on Microsoft Teams, I don't know, Bill, we can't say it, can we? I mean, could you watch the meeting later, or?
The problem with yes, but only if you have to borrow the computer, this computer to watch.
All right, other business, do we have any other business today?
So I think this is the last official select board meeting before Bill retires on September 30th.
That is true.
And I thought we should acknowledge his work for the town in this select board meeting.
Okay. Thank you, Bill. Any other public comment?
Public.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, you go first, should, take a while, right?
You have a laundry list too?
Yeah, it's not a laundry list. I just noted that in the last issue of the Grafton News, we began talking about Airbnbs in town.
Yes.
And I don't think it's sufficient to just say, don't park on the street. I think you have to take a little bit more time to work out some teeth that can be enforced vis-a-vis Airbnbs. The last 5 years, I guess, I've been going south to 3 or 4 different states, and they all have either state licenses or local ordinances which oversee Airbnbs. There's nothing that I hate more than government regulation. I'm the first to say that. But I think it's almost out of control. I know where I live, and I haven't been personally bothered by any of it. But the traffic on my road on Fridays and Sundays becomes very heavy because of the Airbnbs up at the top of the hill. And I'm sure there's lots of other neighborhoods in town that are saying the same thing. An ordinance with some kind of teeth, with some kind of enforcement. I think we discussed this a year ago, maybe, a long time ago anyway, not in recent history, but I don't think anything was ever done about it. And I think it's time to act. There's more, we now guess that 50% of the property in town is owned by out of towners that are not here permanently. Therefore, there's a chance that 50% of our housing is all Airbnb. And there really has to be some sort of teeth and some sort of regulation. How many people are you allowed to have in there? It's probably governed by the septic system that you have. There are noise ordinances. Lots of places that I've rented strictly say after 10 o'clock, there's no more noise, period. We don't have anything like
And
that.
that's a state regulation, so that's the way it is.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think so.
There's an agreement with the inn that supposedly,
No, but I believe, you researched it though, did you not?
Yes,
At
noise stops at 10
10
o'clock.
o'clock.
The state's attorney, in their wisdom, decided 10 o'clock was sundown.
Right.
good. So how do I know that as an Airbnb renter when I come to town?
Well,
It should be posted right in the Airbnb, and that should be part of your ordinance, that you guys should be writing.
I couldn't agree with you more. And I talked to Chester just put in all kinds of regulations other towns have. I talked to someone recently who, was, on the wastewater committee, meeting that Bill and I had, and they were complaining the town they lived in, but we don't have zoning, and I don't know what we can do. Chester has zoning, Wyndham has zoning, they can put stuff. We don't have zoning, so we're kind of limited, I think, of what we can do. I don't know. I mean, we have to ask the VLCT of what we can do with the town that does not have zoning. I don't want to have zoning, like I'm me personally against. No.
Eric is on, and I just wonder if I could ask him, or have you ask him, is the state allowing Airbnb regulations for towns with zoning? Eric?
Eric? We can't hear you.
Your mic's not on.
Put your mic on.
So, you're not being heard.
Okay, so on now. Can you hear me now? Okay, I'm aware of no regulation like that, but it may exist.
I read an article last year that there was a proposal in the state legislature, or maybe it was 2 years ago, to put some legislation for Airbnbs, like they did for bed and breakfast, and somehow it never got passed. So I don't know where the state stands with that. Bill?
Well, you have local ordinances about other things, so I don't see why you can't write a local ordinance, at least to get started.
But if we could, believe me, I would be the first one to say, go do it. Yes, Bill?
We're a Dillon state. We can only have the regulations that the legislature allows. And if I'm not correct, please correct me, Eric, but the legislature took this up and decided they were not going to legislate on Airbnbs, and they did not say to the towns, you can write regulations on Airbnb. I do know Chester wrote them. I also know that there is concern that they'll be disallowed by the state because, again, we're a Dillon state. We only can have the regulations that the state allows us to have. And I can double check that with VLCT, but that's my understanding.
But why don't we leave it this way? Let's double check with VLCT because it's a problem around the state. And if there's something we can do, Don, I think we should do it. There's no question in my mind. But let's make sure that we can do it legally. That's why I wrote that article in the paper. Hopefully, the homeowners would read that. But, you know, I don't know. I know that it's concerning me that, seems to me that with this real estate boom 3 or 4 years ago, where we probably, just say 50%, maybe it's even more of people, of second homeowners, and they all seem to be using the Airbnb to offset the cost, so they can use it for Christmas or Easter or whatever, and then during the regular time, they make income out of it.
Is it worth mentioning the incident we had a month or so ago, that the resident actually called?
Yeah, I put that in there. Well, he called state police and he called the sheriff, and they did not come and they did not respond.
I guess my point to that is we do we were able to have a regulation, who's gonna enforce it?
But we do have tickets. We have a ticket system now. I don't know who's gonna go out there and enforce it.
Well, I can
But we
write
do
the
have a
ticket, but
ticket
I'm not gonna go out
I
there.
didn't say you should.
Would that be a town health officer thing? I mean, I'm not the local police, so that's a tough thing.
I think we should set aside some time, first
Yeah.
find out about VLCT.
Yeah, I think we ought to find out what we can and what we can't do.
I mean, I think
I
that
think so.
John brings up a wonderful point,
Right.
and this is a train that's coming toward us, and we need to do something about it.
You have anything else, Don?
But it's also a very important part of our economy. I think that's what we have to establish a balance.
Well, that would be fine if we were collecting anything from it. Now, again, some of the places that I rent, there is a local tax. I realize we can't always do that, but
But we do have
you could put out a license. You can't have an Airbnb without a local license.
that.
I don't know, there's probably a lot of things that you should be looking into.
That
We
was,
talked about this with the town health officer, you know, do these places have smoke alarms, et cetera, et cetera. There's all kinds of things that could be,
Maybe it's just a fine. Maybe you just say, look, we get so many complaints about your Airbnb, then the town is issuing a fine.
But keep in mind, the town health officer doesn't respond to anything unless if it's an actual complaint.
Yeah.
So in other words, if I know there's an Airbnb in town, I'm not gonna knock on someone's door and say, hey, you have to let me in, you know, and whatever. I don't have the authority.
no, we don't.
No, I agree with that. That's Gestapo kind of stuff. For instance, there should be a list of mandatory things you've got to have in an Airbnb. Smoke detectors, fire
I
extinguishers.
think you'll find it probably there. It's just, again, there's a fire marshal who's gonna come down and check each.
so
They probably could, but we don't have the resources.
the argument that I read in the legislature was that the bed and breakfasts are licensed. And the income from the Airbnb stays in the state. But the income from the Airbnbs, because the holders are living there. Well, with the Airbnbs, the person who lives in Connecticut, and they're getting $1,000 a week, that $1,000 going to Connecticut is not going to Vermont.
But there should be an occupancy tax, just like you have to pay if you stay at the inn, which is payable to the state.
The legislature decided that they didn't want to take care of that, take that up, and that, for whatever the reason is, that's what it is.
Airbnb collects all that upfront. That's one of the reasons they do Airbnb, because Airbnb collects all that and pays it all to the state.
Oh, they do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my understanding is the Division of Fire Safety does not have, the Airbnbs for the most part are treated as single-family residents. Single-family residents, they have owner-occupied single-family residents, they have no authority to go into or regulate at all. If you want to build, you can build whatever you want. Division for owner-occupied single-family residents, there's no regulation what you have in it, what safety features you have in it or don't have in it, whether you can get out of it in case of a fire. They can't even look at a single-family resident. And my understanding, and this is what I checked with VLCT, is that the Airbnbs are treated just like that. The problem is, not only do you have not owner-occupied, but they're basically apartments. And that's what the legislature, if I'm correct and they decide not doing anything with Airbnbs, the legislature should look at it and consider them apartment houses, which Division of Fire Safety does have control over. But my understanding right now is they won't come out. And will DEC enforce the septic? I was told by people who have tried to get DEC septic people, the wastewater people, to inspect and do anything, and was told they have no enforcement. So the problem is the enforcement, even if we have the regulation. But we don't need the regulation if the state would follow their regulations for commercial properties, which is anything but owner-occupied single-family resident. If you rent a house, that's a commercial property. If you rent a house to someone else, other than the owner, Another, it's not owner occupied, it's a commercial property subject to division of fire safety. So will, and every house needs to comply with the septic system based on occupancy. And if the state could enforce that now, but my understanding is that they won't. And I don't know if Airbnbs are cut out of the enforcement, but that's what I'll try to find out from VLCT.
So you saying the Airbnbs don't follow the same regulation as a rental piece of property?
That was what the legislature, as I understand it, decided. If they're not a full-time apartment, they're not a
I just fixed it.
rental property. It doesn't make it, but believe me, the inn owners, the motel owners, the hotel owners, everybody raised a ruckus when that was their decision, because they have to do all that.
Right. If you rent a house, you're supposed to do all that.
Yes.
Investigate, but the Kathy.
I think that this is a problem all over the state of Vermont, so VLCT should have some, let Bill do the research on with VLCT, let's see if they can get it to go back, deal with it at the next meeting or whatever.
I just want to add, one of these Airbnbs and even rentals, they have to go through their insurance. You can't have homeowners, you're supposed to have renter's insurance, or fire protection insurance. And, they will be inspected to go through, make sure you have all the alarms you're supposed to have. Now, I don't know how many people out there have Airbnbs here in town that don't go through their fire insurance. They go through their homeowners. So they bypass that and they have a cheaper insurance because renter's insurance, with fire policy is quite expensive. That's why they don't do it. And that's why they don't have all the alarms they're supposed to have.
I know that I'm pretty sure that there's a requirement that when you sell a house, you have to have the smoke detectors, and I think that the realtor is supposed to double check that. You borrow a couple and stick them up and then take them down after they leave, but, that I think is still part of the real estate transaction.
Any other public comment? Wendy?
The Grafton News is having a candidates forum on October 20th, and sponsored with the Chester Telegraph at 7 p.m. at the school.
October 20th?
Thursday.
This
Just the House candidates, not the states.
what time?
7, pretty sure 7. Yeah. And Dave Ross is going to moderate it.
Any others? If not, the next regular meeting will be on Monday, October 30th, 2022, 16th, right here. And then we have a motion to go into executive session for, 1 VSA 313, 1B, 3, whatever. Okay, do we have a second?
Well, second.
Yes, sir. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Yeah, we'll take a break anyway, go ahead.